Hello and welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Check out our sponsor this week. It's Butcher Boxes. We're here to provide the premier NFL draft coverage. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Bo Brack. Well, we got some company in the studio.
That's right. When we're sponsored by Butcher Box, we got to get somebody in here that can finish their steak because you couldn't, Johnny. You infamously couldn't do it in Indianapolis. So we scouted the combine, and Omar Ruiz, of course, NFL Network reporter, he joins us in studio. We got the heavy hitters the day before the draft. Omar, thanks for joining us, man.
You're welcome. And it's funny you say that because I leave no meat of morsel behind. In fact, we were just at a wedding over the weekend, Bo, on Saturday night, and everyone was teasing me because not only did I finish my steak, I finished my wife's steak, and there was another gal at the table. I finished her steak too. I was a man on a mission, so perfect for this sponsor here.
Well, I feel like this is intentional because, Omar, I don't know if you know this or not about this program. I did not finish my steak at St. Elmo's while we were in Indianapolis for the combine, and you would have thought I committed larceny on this show. I would, And so at the end of the day, I hear about it at least from multiple people in the chat. So you might have to give me some technique.
Hey, but there's something to that there, Johnny. I don't blame you because I'm more of a Prime 47 steak guy.
Oh, okay.
I went to St. Elmo's just once back in 2017, one of my first trips to Indianapolis, and I thought it was rather dry. And I did not finish it. However, I still finished the dang thing. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I don't blame you if you left a little bit there.
I loaded up on the apps, and that was the problem. The apps were elite, and Johnny Boy, had a bigger eyes than his stomach that night. But we're excited to have you on your definitive draft coverage, working for NFL Network, and we're excited about Pick 4. And I feel like, Omar, we've gone through 2 months of will they or won't they trade the pick, draft Marvin Harrison Jr.? Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. You're at the top of the show. Like, what are you hearing the Cardinals, let's just say preferred preferences at pick 4 right now?
I think just based on conversations I've had is that I think Monty would love to be blown away with an offer that just is a no-brainer, make the trade, but still be in a range where he still gets one of those big 3 receivers that are out there to fortify the offense, add a lot more punch to what Drew Petzing has, established last year. That's my gut feeling. But I do know that they'd be more than thrilled to get a guy like Marvin Harrison or even Malik Nabers or even if it's down a little bit, a Rome Odunze. So, but if you ask me to what my gut is, I think they would love to be blown away and continue to build this thing. Obviously, it's not just about the 2024 NFL draft. This is a, comprehensive 13-month into this rebuild process that little by little, piece by piece, they're adding to. They're confident in how they've done it. And this is just another step in that equation.
There's reports all over the place today from ESPN saying Marvin's been given an assurance that the Cardinals, if he's on the board, that they're going to make the pick. We were talking off air. It's like, that's not something that it happens quite often with these prospects. A lot of these coaches, these scouts, these decision makers, they'll talk to these prospects and tell them anything.
Well, we've heard for years. I remember, one of my coworkers, Maurice Jones-Drew, he had a chip on his shoulder in the NFL for a particular team that said they were going to draft him in the first round, and they didn't. And he ends up falling to the second round, and he was just angry his entire NFL career because that team lied to him. He was on the board when they picked, and they didn't pick him like they said they would. And just today, Dave Canales, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, was asked in his press conference, what about those number 33, I forget who the prospect was, said that if he's available, you guys are going to pick him. And he said, yes, I did say that. But I also said that to 50 other players as well. So I always take those conversations with a grain of salt, number one, and then the reports of them with a grain of salt as well, because obviously we know this time of year with the smoke screens and the subterfuge, just how much legitimacy is actually there with what's out there, 24 hours from the NFL draft.
Omar, how legitimate do you believe the Bo Nix, the Michael Penix kind of hype train is now potentially being first round picks? Because I'm inclined to believe that, no, they're going to go probably where they've always been set to go. If they go in the first, they're probably going to go at the end of the first, maybe the beginning of day 2. And yet I feel like there are some teams right now that are leveraging those 2 players who, oh, by the way, are 24 years old to say, you know what, we're actually not going to trade up to pick 3, 4, 5. We're fine with a Nix. We're fine with a Penix. Like, where do you see their stock right now today?
Well, I was at both of their pro days and obviously talking to a lot of people there, scouts, evaluators, coaches, and the buzz on Penix was a lot higher and continues to be, just in conversations that I've had, just how impressive he's been, how impressive his tape was, how impressive he is behind the scenes with both his leadership, his preparation, all that. And you could say a lot of the same things about Bo Nix as well. Nobody was saying, oh, he's not that good or anything. It's just they were gushing about Michael Penix Jr. And with Bo Nix, from watching his tape at Oregon, from watching the pro day, from watching the combine, he seemed to check every box. And that led me in this pre-draft process to be curious about why there may not be as much buzz on him. And it's for a couple different reasons. Number one, it could be it just takes one team, to put that player in the upper half of the first round. And maybe that team wants to hide its intention. So people will think that, okay, they're end of first round, second round type of guys and won't take them as high as they would. But also he did play 61 games. So I think, teams have a pretty confident approach to what he is as a prospect, what he'll be in the NFL. And the buzzwords this time of year that get everybody excited, the potential and the upside and everything, because they feel strongly who he is as a prospect. Maybe there's not as many of those conversations about Bo Nix right now.
Yeah, and it feels like in one of your colleagues over the NFL Network told us this as far as what J.J. McCarthy doesn't face as far as scrutiny is he doesn't have that much tape out there. And some of the things that you can look at the Knicks tape and say, well, he can't do this, he can't do this, he can't do this. You can see most of McCarthy, and he just doesn't have all that tape to show that. So you can't just kind of poke holes in his game.
Yeah, you could only show J.J. McCarthy what he can do.
Right.
And obviously, high success, a lot of wins and everything like that. And I think that obviously is valuable for a guy like J.J. McCarthy and just talking to a bunch of people, that the legitimacy of his rise as well and how impressed people have been with him. But I did think it was curious how Jim Harbaugh, it seemed, was the first to thrust this J.J. McCarthy in the upper echelon of the quarterback tiers in the pre-draft process. I think it was at the owners' meetings when he said that J.J. McCarthy had the best pro day that in the history of the NFL, or the best.
He's the king of hyperbole.
King of hyperbole, number 1, but he's also number 5 there. So if he can get the 4th quarterback to go in that top 4, then the draft, like we've been saying, starts with the Cardinals at 4, would really start with the Chargers at 5.
What do you think? What do you make of the Minnesota Vikings right now? Because that has been the biggest conundrum. They move up for another first round pick in March. So, we go live and we're like, well, they're telegraphing a trade up. They're doing what the Eagles have done in the past. They're getting ammunition. And then either it's kind of limped to the finish line or something's flamed out where they're just like, actually, we want to keep our picks and we're content with our picks. And I call BS on that, Omar. I think at the end of the day, if they were ignorant enough to believe that Drake May was available, shame on them. And if they're balking at the J.J. McCarthy asking price, Omar, welcome to the NFL and what it takes to trade up. Did the Vikings and Kwesi, their GM, kind of bungle this situation before the draft even goes down?
No, I just think that they are, because of what you said, that they telegraphed the fact that they want a quarterback. Now every team is leveraging that against them. So they have to sort of publicly backtrack a little bit and say, we're going to tamper our expectations down a little bit and try to leverage that in their favor and not have to give up as much, because everybody knows this has to be for a quarterback. They let Kirk Cousins go. Sam Darnold obviously is a bridge quarterback, so they feel that they have the leverage against them. So I think all of this, again, is just a play there by the Vikings. Now, is that the proper strategy? You know, can you argue against Kwesi that way, that maybe they didn't handle it properly? But as far as what is publicly out there right now, I feel it's just a little bit of a play to reduce what teams are asking for a trade from the Vikings to get into that top 5. But talking to different teams around there, not just the Vikings, because of that leverage, it's going to be expensive to go into the top 5, you know, kind of no matter who you are. So I think every team is probably trying to jockey that down and try to bring down the asking price for, you know, what maybe the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Giants, you know, would ask there in the top 5 or 6.
It's really interesting. It's been the storyline the last month, especially for this podcast, as far as, you know, teams trying to create leverage. It's nearly an impossible task when you look at it against the Cardinals, because here they sit. And Sean Payton said himself at those league meetings, it's good to be Monti Ossenfort, right? Because he can either stick and pick at 4, and he's taken this, you know, what's generational tab prospect and Marvin Harrison Jr. from an NFL factory in the Buckeyes, or you can move down for a historic haul for the 4th overall pick. I mean, we've seen 1, 2, and 3 dealt for King's ransom, but 4th, that's pretty crazy. It just seems like Monti Ossenfort he's just in a good spot. He's in a win-win situation. You get that sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know, kind of goes back to the original thought that this is just a piece to the Arizona Cardinals rebuilding puzzle that, you know, even at the end of last season, I said it on the air that they could be the dark horse for a contender in 2024, especially if you get a guy like, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr., who, you know, by all expectations could show up and be a day 1 number 1 receiver and really open up the offense for everything that they established last year, that physicality and, you know, just kind of going over the roster and preparing for this draft. You know, it's pretty amazing to me that just how young that defense was, the injuries that they sustained, and still relatively competitive. So you think, you know, they just add a bunch of weapons or components to that defense, and JG will make it work.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah. So going forward, I think, you know, if it is Marvin Harrison at 4 to add to that offense, you know, I think it is good. But then, you know, like I said earlier, if they do trade and he does get a King's ransom, then, you know, all better for it. Now more good players on the roster coming in. So it truly is, it seems like at the, you know, when we say all this win-win, you still got to hit on those picks. You got to get those good players in, you know, regardless of what the circumstances are. Yeah. Harrison would have to be the future Pro Bowler, you know, Hall of Famer. You would want him to be at number 4, and especially considering his pedigree. And then, you know, if you do trade it, you still got to get a bunch of good players coming in and take advantage of those picks should you get them.
I learned this about Omar over the weekend, Johnny, when we were hamming it up at a mutual friend's wedding. Our guy Bauer, congratulations to him and his lovely wife. But you did some work in Columbus. You know, you got ties to Ohio State. Have you heard anything as far as, I mean, I've heard from obviously his buddy, his old teammate, Paris Johnson Jr., about his work ethic. But what have you heard about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Well, yeah, that he's the real deal. You know, just obviously his dad's a Hall of Famer and just kind of, you know, once he stepped on that campus, and really it's probably a guy like when he was in high school, you know, was just kind of, you know, on, you know, the runaway train to the NFL and to have a legendary career. So I think, you know, all the things that you have heard about him in a positive manner are true. And I think he is so good probably in every way that you would want a prospect that high. And, you know, he's a lot of people's number 1 player in this draft overall. For a guy to be like that, I think he is confident in who he is as a person, who he is as a worker, who he is as a player, obviously the production, to essentially sit out this entire pre-draft process. You know, didn't work out at the combine, you know, didn't really work out for teams, you know, before. I think speaks to a lot of who he is and the confidence he has and the expectations he'll have once he steps foot in the NFL.
Let's change things to the defensive side, because I've heard some people, Omar, suggest that this could be the first top 10 in draft history where a defender is not drafted. Now, I think that that's pretty crazy. You've got the kid out of Texas, Byron Murphy, the odds-on favorite to become a Chicago Bear at pick 9. But outside of that, it's like, okay, could the Atlanta Falcons maybe take a pass rusher? Like, what are you hearing? Who is the quintessential, do you feel like, top defender in this draft, or does it really depend on the team that's picking?
Well, I think that is why we don't see that many players projected, if any, in the top 10, because I don't think there is that definitive, Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett, somebody who just, Will Anderson, who's just going to show up and be an instant star. I don't think there's anybody here in this draft that you think that about. You just kind of, just like you mentioned about one of the prospects earlier, you just kind of poke holes in all of them, or they have some sort of injury history or whatever the case may be. I think there's that. And what I'm trying to determine, and I haven't figured out yet, is if this is the case because the offense is so talented. I can't remember, for instance, we've talked a lot about receivers, Nabers, Odunze, Harrison, being top 5 in the draft type of prospects, expected to all go in the top 10. I can't recall that them being so high. So I don't know if it's has to do with the defenders not being as talented or being as highly thought of as prospects, or it's because, we've had a unique situation with obviously quarterback demand, how good these receivers are that have kind of pushed the defenders down the board. But to answer your original question, I don't see, any of these defenders as a surefire, oh, he's going to be a no doubt about it.
Yeah.
A future Pro Bowler, next year or the year after.
We had close to 600 people watching. Like this video, the chat, Omar, we have to take you into our daily debate that goes on here. And I think it's Johnny and I take flack because we speak about this draft pick, especially 4th overall, a lot like you've laid out here, where Monti Ossenfort, if he's overwhelmed by a trade package, which is very likely, he's going to take it. And the people in the chat, they want us to just tell them that they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. There's the hold the line movement that has been created by our producer, Damon Dog. And it's great. I appreciate the passion, but you've been there in press conferences. You've had conversations with Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon, and this team mentality, this egoless organization that they want to put in place, like as good as there is for one player that could be out there at 4, Monti Ossenfort, he doesn't see it necessarily as we would. Like there's this player, he's special. He sees it as, hey, if I can get blown away by a deal, I'm going to take it. It's the right thing for the organization.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think, if you can, well, especially when he's unafraid to not just trade down, but then trade back up. Yeah. So, if they really do have Nabers as close to Harrison as it seems like they do, and you can, like, let's just say last year, for instance, that they go to, let's say 12, the Broncos or the Raiders at 13, then come back into 6 and still get Nabers. You still get that dynamic receiver that you're looking for to help this offense. But then you also get, maybe an extra first rounder next year again,
right?
Or another second rounder. And then you just kind of keep building that pipeline for more and more talented players on the roster. And obviously, and this is not a conversation the Cardinals are having yet at this point, but ultimately, if you want to be a contender, you have to build that depth. You have to.
They have the second most points last year, and they added some nice players that raised the floor as far as talent on the defensive side, but they still have to infuse talent all across this roster. Put up Sports Heroes chat again, Damon, and Omar can take a little glimpse into our life where we were called traitors. And so Jobo, which is our power couple name, where he's taking Johnny and
traitors
Bo.
Like Benedict Arnold, or traitors like Monti Ossenfort?
Exactly. We're the Benedict Arnolds of the Red Seas. Yeah, trade down traitors. Pure treason.
Listen, we welcome the emotion on the show.
We do.
At the same time, it's called keeping it real. We're keeping it. We would be doing a disservice, Omar, to our audience every day if we came on this show, do a live show every single day during the week, and said, get the pom-poms out, print up the 18 jerseys. It's a done deal. It's not a done deal until it's a done deal. And you got Monti Ossenfort talking about big flashing lights, and we can't, I guess we're not allowed to talk about the Vikings or the Giants on this program.
Well, I loved his analogy. I said this on our air yesterday about him saying he loves his house. He loves where he lives, his wife loving their house, loving where they live. But if they got blown away for an offer on the house, he'd say, honey, pack up them boxes. We're moving. So, it's one of the better pre-draft press conference analogies I've heard in my day. And, and I think it's truly indicative of his attitude there. That I think they'd be happy with, upgrading the roster in a significant way by picking at number 4. But they could do that as well by trading out if the haul is good enough.
You're going to be out there tomorrow, right, at the facility in Tempe?
12:10, baby. First hit at 12:10. Be live all the way through the start of the draft, and again on Friday with the introductory press conferences and getting everybody ready for rounds 2 and 3 as well.
You've been talking since you've been in the press conferences. Any chance we've talked to Gannon or Monty about the culture shift? I've heard you ask some of those questions. What's been how have you seen this organization change over the last calendar year from the previous regime to now? Because it was Cliff Kingsbury, it was Steve Keim, and now it's under Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon.
Well, I think you said egoless, right? A little while ago. I like that term. I think that's a pretty good description there. The people I tell that this reminds me of, and obviously is, temper expectations here a little bit, but in 2017, 2018, covered the Niners a bunch. Kyle Shanahan's first year, they lost their first 9 games. And then the next year, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt early on. They lose a bunch more games. I think they won 6 games that year, but never in those 2 years. And this is why we stress culture, and it's important. You obviously have the good players, but why we stress culture too. Never in those first 2 years of losing was the locker room fractured. Was there infighting? Was there pointing fingers? It was all just sort of building positively, still believing in what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were building. And then in year 3, everything comes together. They get Debo and they go to the Super Bowl. And so, so in talking about culture, this 23 season for the Cardinals, and I think it was reflective of those big wins they got in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, that it was a similar feel I got from them, that they weren't winning very many games. They had a bunch of rookies playing and all this, but there wasn't that infighting. There wasn't any negative energy in the locker room. And to get a big win in Philadelphia, big win in Pittsburgh late in the year, the way they did, I think were signs that it is going in the right direction. And they are confident in the leadership. The locker room is confident in the leadership at hand. And those things kind of go a long way when you're laying a foundation. And you look back and you see, okay, maybe in 26, the Cardinals make a Super Bowl run. Okay, it was because they held the fort down in 23 and 24 while they turned this thing around.
Omar, kind of an unsung point that we haven't had to hammer home this offseason. It's been nice is the stability with Kyler Murray at quarterback. And you see these teams scrambling up to get a signal caller, an unproven one, and give up premium picks in the process. I mean, we can have fun talking about MHJ all we want, but it really comes down to the play of Kyler Murray. What have you seen since you've been here, the maturation process? Because I'm expecting big things from K1 this year 2 in Drew Petzing's offense.
Well, I think the capability to just make the routine play, make this simple check down, hit guys accurately on the short routes, because Kyler's still going to deliver those spectacular plays, the highlight plays, the ones that only he can make. And we've seen that time and time again to help win games. But I think being able to control the offense, stay poised, win games in the fourth quarter by doing the little things, the simple things at times, it's so underrated in the NFL. I'm sure you guys watch games all over the place, and a little 3rd and 5 out route, the receiver's open and the quarterback just overthrows them. Just inexplicably. Yeah. And so, Kyler making those plays, winning football plays, just moving the chains, moving the six, the unspectacular to go along with the spectacular, I think will be key for him in second year with Drew Petzing. And we heard all about how he attacked, the physical regimen last year in his rehab, attacked the playbook and led to that late season success that they had, and 3 and 5 in his games there. And we've already
4 and 4.
Yeah. But we documented, how many holes they had on the roster, not much talent for them to, and the record that they had when he took over, for them to win 3 games with what they had, with him still coming back, trying to be healthy, trying to figure out the playbook as they went. I think all bodes well for them in the future. And I think having this, full off season to, work on chemistry with the receivers and apply the playbook while on the field, not just in the classroom. I think, expectations should be high for Kyler Murray and for the Cardinals in 24.
What are some of your favorite storylines to follow as far as this draft class? Anything that you've been following along with this entire draft season, this whole process?
The PHNX and Knicks, I had a vested interest in that because, doing the pro day. I think another one is Troy Franklin, the receiver at Oregon, really impressed me. And, a lot of people are saying now he might be a dark horse to go into the first round as a receiver. He was a guy where, you watch film, you watch him at the combine. I watched him at the pro day. He could not be overthrown and doesn't necessarily have, the smoothest, catching style, probably why he's not one of these, upper echelon type of guys, but, curious to see him. Laiatu Latu, I'm from Sacramento. He's a Sacramento kid. I kind of followed his career to kind of see where he came from and all the adversity he overcame to then, start at UCLA and now be one of the top tier defenders in this draft has been interesting to see from a, personal standpoint.
Sure. And
I think that's what the draft, represents in many ways, not just the hopes and fortunes of the teams, as they look forward to the next season, but, seeing these incredible stories from the athletes, and whether it was, the overcome the adversity as a kid or an injury in college or other issues that, they face, hearing about all them and then seeing their dream realized is also, part of the amazing process that we'll see this weekend. But those are a couple things that kind of piqued my interest heading into the draft.
It's going to be a banner evening tomorrow, Omar. I would say you look at the landscape of the top 10, and if JJ McCarthy does go, let's say top 6, right? And if Brock Bowers does go within the top 10, there's going to be some premium defensive players that are pushed down to the latter portion of the first round for the Cardinals to take advantage of. I'll get you out of here with my last question on this. Do you feel like you secure one of those top 3 receivers, and especially Marvin Harrison Jr., it just makes everything easier for Monti Ossenfort the rest of the draft?
Yeah, and I would say even with number 27, they would have capital to move up, let's say to a 16 or a 17 to get even an elite, or one of the more perceived elite defensive players, and not just, because of that push down process that you mentioned. So I think whether they can kind of forecast at 27 to still get a really good player, or they have the ammunition, and that's where, getting those extra picks, help that you can go and get still an elite guy and move up, 10, 11 spots if you want. But I think, if receiver goes with the first pick, then, they'll have a really good shot to land, a good to great prospect there with that second pick, whether it's at 27 or whether it's higher.
Whether you're getting up the draft board. It's going to be interesting. And the coverage begins early tomorrow. NFL Network. Our guy Omar Ruiz is going to be live from the Cardinals facility. Even before we even get to our draft party out there at Gila River Resort and Casino, we're going to be we're just lazy guys getting to right before the draft begins. But Omar, we're looking forward to it. Follow him on Twitter at Omar Ruiz. Fantastic coverage. Thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Hey, thanks for having me, Bo. This is awesome to check out everything here. Johnny, thanks for having me. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next time, sometime down the road, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Absolutely. Johnny, get some reads in, and I'm walk Omar out. We'll get right back into the conversation.
Let's do it. Yeah, we talked about our presenting friends today at Butcher Box. They're offering our listeners an amazing new offer where you can get free meat plus $20 off your first box using that link in the show description with the bonus code PHNX. This is an exclusive one, so use it before you lose it. How about bonus bets? You like using those? We're going to hook you up with some right now with BetMGM's first bet offer up to $1,500. Again, it's draft season. Draft props are here and they're available, but how about baseball season? It's in full swing right now with the Grand Slam Jackpot promotion every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the MLB season. Introducing our MLB Grand Slam Jackpot weekly bet and get promotion. All you got to do, play some of your $10 or more on any player to hit a home run Friday through Sunday. If that player hits a grand slam, you can win up to $50K in prizes or share it with the other bettors that happen to place some shekels on that player to hit a grand slam. Again, BetMGM is just giving out what seems like free cash every single time you're using that bonus code PHNX, like this one, my favorite. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager, receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. And if it loses, well, you get your initial wager settled with those bonus bets. If you win, heck yeah, let's cash some checks here. Marvin Harrison Jr. minus 225 right now with our friends at BetMGM. How about Bo Nix? I think over under for draft positioning, 32.5. You love to see that. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Great stuff from our guy Omar Ruiz, hanging out with his here at PHNX Sports Studios, and just down the street, you got a chance to get yourself into an NBA playoff game. Phoenix Suns will be back in town down at the Footprint Center. You want to get tickets into the game? Game Time app. That's the best way you can do it. Start up right now. Get yourself an account, and you can save $20 off your first purchase. Create a free account, and then use the code PHNX. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase with the Game Time app, whether it's sporting events or you want to go watch a stand-up comedian or some concert you've been waiting for. Well, you can wait even longer. Wait until the final second before the show even begins, and you can get maybe the best deal possible with our friends over at Game Times. You got terms applying, of course. Create that account. You redeem the code for PHNX. You get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right, it's time to go to war with the chat. I didn't want to do this. We're going to have to go to war with the fine people in the chat right now, Bo Brack. In all seriousness, a bunch of super chats to get to. Again, big thanks to Omar. We got Trevor Sikkema right around the corner. But let's talk about the show title today. Marvin Harrison Jr., quote, given assurance from the Arizona Cardinals, he will be the pick if available. Bo Brack, can you remind me who made that report today?
That would be Matt Miller.
Matt Miller. Let's take a second. Let's think. The draft, it's in the air. Matt Miller talking about the Arizona Cardinals. Damon, what does that remind us of? Can I ask you that?
No, enlighten me, Johnny.
People have been clamoring to hear from Damon, by the way. The king of the hold the line movement. We will give Damon the floor at some point. But
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Matt Miller, Cardinals draft, insight, scoopage. Oh, here it is. How about this? From, 11 years ago, Matt Miller, text I received from a scout this morning. Matt Barkley will not get past the Arizona Cardinals at number 7 overall. Man, Matt Miller really bringing out the heat during draft season with regard to the Arizona Cardinals. I kid. I joke around. I had to do that. You love to see it. Matt, I want Matt Miller to
you need context. You need context.
Hit me with it.
It's a piece of a larger puzzle, right?
Okay.
And look, we all make mistakes. We got to let him live it down. It was a bad report.
Kudos to him real quick for never deleting the tweet so I can go grab
still
that.
There. Yeah.
This one would be unforgivable. This would be unforgivable.
Yeah, this was that was strike one. If
this is strike 3.
If it's not Marv, it's 2 and 3 right there. It's 2 swings and misses. Like, this is such a big one to come out. And do we have the quote, Damon? Let's put it up. And I'm sure the hold the line crowd that is ruthless today. Ruthless.
I love it. Bring it on. Bring the heat on.
This is from Matt Miller's final mock draft before the big deal. Actually, 24 hours away officially now. Arizona Cardinals picking Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. Harrison met with 2 teams in top 30 visits to lead up to the draft, the Bears and the Cardinals. Sources around the NFL say Harrison has an assurance from the Cardinals that he will be the pick. If available at that spot, Arizona would be getting its next Larry Fitzgerald to pair with quarterback Kyler Murray. Harrison has a great body control, speed, and instincts.
Listen, I think if it's true, great for Matt Miller. There's no way Matt Miller knows that. I'm going to put that out there. I don't think Matt Miller would have that. I think if he has it through Adam Schefter or some one of his colleagues.
Well, wouldn't Schefter put that out there? Wouldn't Schefter give it to Mel Kiper?
I don't know. Maybe. Do you believe Matt Miller?
I mean, look,
who's telling Matt Miller?
Here's what I'll say. And we'll see what Mel Kiper does in his final mock, and we'll see what Schrager does in his final mock. But Adam Schefter doing the rounds on, different radio shows and TV shows, when he looked at the first 4 picks and they had it going, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., he basically said that's how he feels like the first 4 are going to land.
Sure.
So it kind of, it piggybacks, or Matt Miller's report piggybacks what Schefter's been reporting. And then, reports from Jordan Schultz today, where Jordan Schultz is saying that the Arizona Cardinals would be, quote, more than happy.
Yeah, I think you have that.
Yeah, to take Marvin Harrison Jr. because of what the asking price is for them to trade down. This is Jordan Schultz. NFL draft notes I've gathered after speaking to multiple team sources. The Arizona Cardinals are driving a hard bargain to move back and are more than happy to take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. So it's a difference between, they've assured Marvin Harrison Jr. that if he's on the board when they're on the clock, that they're going to take him.
Yeah, like we've been saying that on this show since February, January. Like Marvin's their number 1 player on their board. We've never strayed away from that. They're infatuated with him, and the only way they would move off of it if they got a team to basically say, we'll open up the checkbook and give you multiple first-round picks in the next year. Like that's been our stance from day one. And so I do think like, hey, if we're going to take a player, Matt Miller, it's going to be Marvin at pick 4, but you've got 2, potentially 3 looming teams behind the Arizona Cardinals to spruce up this trade package. But here's what I will say. For all the people that are a little bit disingenuous in the comments, which I welcome, we want aggressive emotion here in night before the draft. If we're not emotional before the draft, we're doing something wrong. Bo and I were texting this morning. It does feel like for the first time, and maybe this is the kiss of death, in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, certainly since before the Vikings trade, there is momentum for Marvin Harrison Jr. to be the pick at pick 4. Like, you put away all the extra minutia as it relates to teams having offers to the Cardinals. We got the report yesterday from Jonathan Jones that the Cardinals had 2 offers in hand. Like, is the JJ McCarthy hype train dead on arrival? Is the league telling us now, actually, we weren't super high on him? Are we course correcting with JJ McCarthy and he's going to go in the teens, right? Or maybe just the end of the top 10. And if that's the case, then Marvin Harrison Jr. will be the pick. Because I do not think for a second that Drake May is going to be available at pick 4. I think he's going to be a Patriot. I think if the Vikings and the Giants think that they can pry that pick away, that's foolish. And that's why I give the Vikings such a hard time. So if you're asking me right now, today, I think that the pick is going to be Marvin based on what we've heard over the last 12 hours. Now, certainly with new information, that can change, right? But when you've got every insider imaginable, and I we're breaking Matt Miller's back here a little bit on this show, but like, as you said, and the chat has said, Schefter, Breer, Rap Sheet, the heavy hitters have come out and said, like, it's going to be Marvin for the Cardinals, most likely. Like, unless somebody blows them away. What did you say?
I said those names ring any bells?
That's right.
Are those reputable guys?
But like, there's nothing wrong with needing that confirmation. This group with Ossenfort, real quick, Bo, is so tight-nipped with how they operate. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody locally is going to have anything. I think the speculation is warranted because of the supposed infatuation with JJ McCarthy. And that's why we ran with it and continue to discuss it. If that's dead, if JJ McCarthy is basically deemed overrated now, and he's going to go at the back half of the first round, or he's going to go 10, 11, or 12, then there's a clear path, like we've said from day one, 3 QBs and MHJ at pick 4. That's how I feel.
Right.
But you need that confirmation. I mean, we got it coming from every angle right now.
Yeah, we do. Look, there's still the ability for teams to get up the draft board. They just have to meet what's been called a king's ransom, a massive asking price from Monti Ossenfort. And the momentum for teams to actually meet those terms has really slowed down. Where you had, and you pointed this out on social media, Johnny, where you had 3 NFL I guess insiders or analysts saying that JJ McCarthy doesn't feel like the Giants are in on JJ McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Or that you've got the Vikings unwilling to part with 23. Then Monti Ossenfort's just not going to get his demands met. And it's just as simple as when you've got Jordan Schultz saying that he'd be more than happy to take Marvin Harrison Jr. That's why the momentum is getting back on track for Marvin Harrison Jr. to come to the desert and catch passes from Kyler Murray. Because the asking price is the asking price. And it doesn't feel like any team is willing to meet that. So the Arizona Cardinals are going to pivot in the direction that they've been content with the entire draft season, and that's taking this top wide receiver in this talent-rich draft at the position.
Well, like, what do the Minnesota Vikings do if they don't trade with the Cardinals? Like, because I do believe if there's a package that the Chargers will take, there's a package similar or equal value that the Cardinals would take. Like, this narrative that,
no, that's not true.
I think so. You don't think that the Chargers are going to ask for 3 1s and the Cardinals are going to ask for 3 1s?
But I don't think that's I don't believe that the Vikings are willing to meet that asking price. They just aren't.
If that's the case though,
I think that the Chargers would be more. They would maybe take, this year the
70 cents on the dollar,
and then exactly. It's not as hard of a bargain for the Chargers as it is Monti Ossenfort. It's going to be, it's close, but it's not the same deal. It's a different deal.
Yeah, I disagree. I think if you're sitting there and you're the Los Angeles Chargers and you are having to go from 5 to 11, that your compensation is going to be similar to what Arizona is, because you're also in a position where the New York Giants are picking right behind you.
Right.
And you are the only thing that stands in the way of the Giants getting JJ McCarthy and the Vikings striking out. So
but we've agreed that we just don't feel like, we've agreed, but insiders with sources around the league, that they just don't view the Giants too high on JJ McCarthy, especially one to go and give up assets to get up the draft board. If he falls,
I just don't believe that. If they took him out on Easter Sunday for a top 30 visit, and they would, I believe they would take him.
What did Albert Breer say yesterday? What did you read? What did you tweet?
They're just like, I don't know. Here, I'll read it out loud. I don't know how this can be like super factual. Like they may say this as it relates to like, we're not going to give up a premium to come get him. But here, let me find it here. Basically, Albert Breer said something to the effect of, hang on, now I can't find it. Here it is. So move the sticks. Daniel Jeremiah said, I don't view the Giants as a JJ McCarthy team. Dane Brugler said, put me in this camp too, based on what I've heard. Albert Breer said, I'll third that.
Oh, just crumple up and throw in the trash then. That's not, it's just Albert Breer.
Well, hang on a second. And, why would the Giants then just have a top 30 visit,
right? It's not Albert Breer who we lean on for most information, but this information, right? And Dane Brugler, who we only agree with when he says stuff. No, I mean, I think that's not.
Well, if you're Ossenfort or you're the Chargers, you still use the Giants as leverage.
But let's keep things here in place. Like, I don't think that Monti Ossenfort is going to back off his asking price just because the JJ McCarthy hype train is slowed down. Like the price should remain the price. Like he still needs to be overwhelmed, in my opinion. Like if he eases off of this and he takes less than 3 1s, I'm completely out on that.
The opportunity cost doesn't change by the JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, it's not like last year where they negotiated up until the end to just get out because we knew they were desperate for more picks. That's always been the argument this year, is you had your ace in your hole in MHJ if you couldn't get a deal done. But again, like my question remains, like what are the Minnesota Vikings doing if they don't trade up with the Cardinals? You think that there's still a strong likelihood that they could trade up to 5?
I think they could trade up to 5. They could, if maybe they feel like they can get to 7. If the Giants are just, if they're not willing to come up and get McCarthy ahead of 6, then do they want to take him at 6? Do they feel like he's going to benefit them? He's either a franchise quarterback or he's not. Like, and then franchise quarterbacks, I don't think it's a direction you want to take your franchise.
And that goes back to the fact that if the Vikings then feel like they can wait for a McCarthy and they're picking 11th and they don't have to use 23 to come up, then they were the entire time trying to make a trade for Drake May that was never there. All right, the chat's absolutely on fire.
We have a little bit of breaking news. Daniel Jeremiah released his final mock draft as of 15 minutes ago.
I don't think Johnny wants to hear it.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Don't point this at me. Bo's such a jackass.
Marvin Harrison Jr. number 4 to the Cardinals.
So he's got the quarterbacks that we all assume, right?
He goes Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, top 3.
Correct.
Then at 4 for the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., it says, with the top 3 quarterbacks off the board, I don't know that the market for the 4th pick will be all that tempting for Arizona to trade out of this spot.
Which is what we just said.
The Cardinals land a great player at a position of need. J.C. Latham at 5 to the Chargers.
Oh, my God.
Wow, that's bold.
Malik Nabers going to the Giants. Joe Alt to the Titans. Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Olu Fashanu to the Bears at 9. Rome Odunze at 10. And J.J. McCarthy going all the way to 11 to the Vikings. And he even throws in here, all the information I've gathered in the last couple of days suggests the Vikings are not crazy about making a bold move up the board for McCarthy. I believe they've grown more comfortable with Michael Penix Jr. as a fallback option if a team were to leapfrog them for McCarthy.
Now, there's a couple of things at play, right? And they're not like, I don't believe
the chat is the worst.
I will
enjoy Marvin Harrison Jr. to this team chat tomorrow. It will be glorious. I'm not rooting for a trade down. Go ahead, Bo. Sorry.
This doesn't need to be Johnny defends himself. The part about the Vikings being content with Michael Penix, like you were spoon-fed that. It was placed in the media by the Vikings. That there's no way that they are content with taking Michael Penix at 11.
Why did the Vikings add an extra pick in the first round? Somebody needs to ask Quessy that. Like, what was the plan? Do you know?
Well, I mean, the plan. I think the plan was Drake May. To me, that's very apparent.
A dumb fucking plan. Then
I understand that. I understand that, but it happened March 15th, and they needed to load up on ammunition to get up the draft board. It still wasn't enough, and the New England Patriots. It really feels like Drake May was. They made their definitive decision on that, right? They had a strong conviction in Drake May, where the Vikings they maybe miscalculated that, and weren't willing to come up for QB4. They're just not.
If they just take J.J. McCarthy and they're just like, we have an extra first-round pick, like I question everything.
Well, when they have their general manager up at the podium and he's talking about different tiers of quarterbacks and guys that you need to provide an infrastructure for. I mean, J.J. McCarthy had the infrastructure at Michigan that was able to elevate him. So, I mean, I think maybe he fits in that tier. And we were just thinking, okay, maybe they thought him and May there was a little bit of a difference, but still felt he was top 5. But the momentum for J.J. McCarthy top 5, it really is legitimately cooling down. Yeah,
why would Sean Payton and everybody say that Ossenfort is in the driver's seat when clearly it's always been?
He is. If there are 4 quarterbacks
but there aren't. Now we're learning 24 hours before the draft that this J.J. McCarthy hype train was BS, or it's turned into BS by some teams. Like if J.J. McCarthy, who everybody has been adamant, over under in Vegas 5.5, Albright's on this show saying he's going top 5. If J.J. McCarthy now is just landing to the Vikings at pick 11, then was J.J. McCarthy just a media creation? Was he an executive creation? Was he a creation of other teams to try to get Drake May to fall? I feel like there's some misinformation here, but the team that looks the worst right now is the Minnesota Vikings.
Sure.
There has never been, for everybody who's questioned the trade discussion, you do what you want to do. There has never been a team that has just traded up into the first round pre-draft, gotten the ammunition, and then didn't use it to come up and get a quarterback and just said, we're actually just going to go chalk and take 2 guys at 11 and 23 and give up picks next year. That does not happen. Name me one time that's happened. They traded assets to have multiple first round picks to use as ammunition to go to pick 4 or 5 to get the 4th quarterback. If their plan all along was to get the 3rd quarterback when New England doesn't have a quarterback picking 3, that's a fireable offense.
Yeah, Tony, I completely agree with him. We're all laughing if the Vikings end up with Bo Nix, right? Absolutely.
That'd be pretty funny.
It would be hilarious.
All right, we gotta get some of these super chats. There's 17 of them. Drop a like on this.
Let me just say real quick that DJ has the Cardinals picking Latu at 27 in his mock as well.
What is this mock?
That'd be pretty nasty.
Yeah, but Latu's.
I'm doing backflips.
He's being projected to be the top defensive player.
All these days, he's the best defensive player in the draft.
He says that he thinks the Cardinals would love to take Johnny Newton there if he's available, but he hadn't taken at that point.
Where's Johnny Newton going in his mock? I don't even see him.
The Dolphins at 21.
Oh, yikes. Okay. J.C. Latham at 5. Charger fans, Harbaugh's a wild card. What we've been saying since the start. You don't know what that man will do. Mike Sabo in the chat, $1.99. Thank you so much, Mike. Super chat, super sticker to start things off. Mike, if you got a question, drop it in the chat, my guy. We'll get to it for free. Lauren Downey, $2 super chat. Bo, stick and pick. That is all. International, hold the line. How about that?
Very nice. Let's keep it going here. This is Redbirds 224. Jumping in with a $2 super chat. Draft is Kyler Murray days away. That's the number one. Hold the MF in line. Hashtag Bird Gang. Thank you, Bird Gang. Redbirds 224.
Booms $9.99. Real hotel analogy. Oh God. Johnny would make his family cram in a crappy room because the hotel has free breakfast that might be good. I would do that. I've done that before. Then stay at a 5-star hotel. Have fun with your powdered eggs, John. Hashtag hold the line. When we look for free vacations, yeah, you have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. We always look for free breakfast. It's a mandate.
$2 super chat. Tyler H. We made it, boys. Hold the MF in line.
We haven't made it yet, Tyler. This is the longest draft season. We're going to be on the clock in about 25 hours from now. We're crawling to the finish line, my guy.
How about our guy? Is it Daniel jumping in? $9.99. Thank you, Daniel. If May falls to 4, hold the line will face the ultimate test. If that happens, it's time to. There's an emoji in there. What is it?
By something Michelin star Monty Cook.
Oh, okay.
Let Monty cook.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Yep.
Hollis Willis.
It's true. It's true. I think Drake May opens up like really.
Yeah, but it's just not likely.
It's not.
It's not. Hollis Willis, Johnny timed me out. I didn't do anything. He's silencing his critics. Communists. Look at his face. He's so mad. I was love to be mad about Marvin Harrison Jr.
Damon, can you debunk the idea that Johnny would time anybody out?
If you think I've got control of that, you were nuts.
Can you tell the people that Johnny didn't time anybody out?
What do we even mean by timeout? In the chat? Yeah. No, he's a good soul. I
welcome criticism and heat. That's what this show is. This isn't patty cake with
I'm
the
just
boys.
protecting my sweet John.
Cardinal Charles 71, $5 super chat. I disagree.
Get me out of all these super chats. Don't you guys have better money to spend on than to put me in your super chats? Love you,
Johnny.
Charles.
If we trade down, I don't believe we take Nabers over Rome because character, play style, and the size Rome makes it too much sense.
Charles, I change every day on that. Flip a coin. I think Rome agreed is like more their guy, but I also think you can't ignore like people who say like Nabers is right there with Marvin. Like you overdraft a player. I mean, Jeremiah's got the Chargers doing that, taking Latham over Alt. So if they trade down, either is in play. I think it's apples to oranges for sure.
Michael Evans, $2 super chat.
What time are you guys coming tomorrow to the draft party, Bo?
We're gonna be there a little earlier. I think doors open at 3:30, or the meet and greets at 3:30. We're gonna be live 4:15, 4:30ish. We got something big in the works for you guys. We can't let you in too much. If you take it easy on Mike,
we can't tell them today.
We can't tell anybody.
Okay,
no.
I've told everyone already. Brian, $2 super chat. I don't trust Miller with $2, but here you go. Thank you, Brian. Brian understands. Just because we want something to happen, go to the source, right?
You know who the Cardinals took in that draft?
2013, Jonathan Cooper.
Yeah.
Might have been better off with Matt.
Matt Barkley slipped until this third round.
He's got that Bo Nix arm. He and Bo Nix have about the same arm strength.
Remember Barkley's whole thing was his hand size. So he's Kenny Pickett before Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. I remember he used to do that thing with Carson where they throw the balls into the trash can. The Cardinals brought him in. What was that year?
Yeah, a couple of years down the road.
He's a perfect backup. Not 7th overall pick, Matt Miller.
Right. Let's keep it going.
That guy, Angelo, 187, $5. Is it me, or do I feel nervous yet excited for tomorrow, like a first date when I was 12? Wow. I can't wait to see what Monty is cooking. Chef Monty's going to be cooking up something good, Angelo. But yeah, I mean, very few of us are going to sleep. I've got my final mock draft dropping tomorrow, and then tomorrow night after the show, after the festivities, got a day 2 mock as well that will drop on Friday for free at gophnx.com. So, I mean, like, if you're a diehard member, just be hanging out in our Discord over the next couple of days, because this draft season, I mean, can we say it's like better than the regular season that we just had for 4 wins? I mean, this is the most impactful weekend that the Cardinals have had since the postseason 2021-2022.
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten borderline toxic, but at the same time, it's been the best thing ever.
I'll bring it on. Let's go.
Adam H, $9.99. No, we embrace that. We love that type of passion.
Yep.
Johnny's like,
it's like a crazy girlfriend. It's like you just can't get enough of it.
But Johnny's so toxic. Like, he just wants to fight. He literally wants Marvin, but he doesn't want Hold the Line to succeed.
I'm curious to see what
Johnny's out there saying.
You think Johnny would he have the gall to put?
Oh, he's going to trade down in his mock.
Is he trading down? Are you going to do it in your mock?
You have to read it, suckers. Adam H, $9.99. I don't love or hate Monty yet. Okay. Thank you, Adam. It's really soon, but after reading an old post of Bo's ranking every Steve Kimes draft pick, oh man, I forgot about that one. I'm going into tomorrow feeling really inspired. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much, Adam. Hashtag hold the line. Again, this is why I think the trade speculation is a safe space, because it's not Steve Keim. If this was Steve Keim, I mean, we'd be having a conversation every day of like, he should not be equipped with multiple firsts.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know how to use them. He's batting about 100. Where like Monti Ossenfort's 1 for 1. Now, I don't love the idea of watering down pick 4. I wouldn't do it. I would take Marvin. But at the same time, it's like, I want to give Ossenfort as many cracks at the plate. He put streak together.
Keeping it going. Fishbowl Flash, $2 super chat. The line, let's see. The line can start. This line can start in any NFL team. Hold the MF in line.
Be a top 10 unit, I'd say.
It's gone from like Braveheart to kind of like Avengers status.
I will
say, think so?
Yeah.
Can you imagine this receiving core in the evolution process from what it was and how soft it was to Marvin, Michael Wilson, who's incredibly physical, and then Greg Dortch, who's the Yak King. And now, oh, by the way, you have a Pro Bowl tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has been remade overnight, and it's exactly what you hoped it would be. That I remember the receiving core. We were doing the show 2 years ago, and we thought it was going to be hot shit with Hollywood and D Hop and Rondell, and that receiving core exploded, and none of those players are left. And now you get a late 3rd rounder that pops out of Stanford, potentially the 4th overall pick, an undrafted player that should have been given more time than he's been given. And then now you have your best tight end in the history of this franchise since moving to Arizona. I mean, it's a nice little combination here if they can make it happen.
Like what I visualize is, you remember when like Zion Williamson was playing in high school?
Yeah.
And would sometimes go up against somebody that was Johnny's size. That was our wide receiver core at this time last year. Now you got guys 6'2", going to be close, a legit 6'4", and Marvin Harrison Jr. You got some big-bodied, physical guys who are as athletic as they come.
Could you imagine if I tried to D-up Zion? Like
it actually happened. Like there's video out there. I've seen it across my timeline where there was a guy like your size just trying to body Zion. He's like, "What is this? Get this away from me." Danny Redbirds jumping in, $4.99 super chat. Patty cake time tomorrow. JV and Bo may celebrate too. Thank you, Danny. But only if the title for the Friday show is with PCT with Damon and the boys.
Skittles, Pepsi, Damon and the boys. That's the Friday show title.
The Friday show is going to be gross. Can I just say that right now? It's going to be so gross in the best possible way. We're going to be in studio for rounds 2 and 3. And then we did decide this morning we will be in studio bright and early, 9 a.m. for kickoff of day 3 as well. So we're some sick puppies, man. We're going to be live for about 20 hours.
Just people still coming at me and Johnny probably about Marvin Harrison Jr. Killer
Come on, let's enjoy this.
I'm having a great time. $4.99 super chat. Killer Rex. Kyler has gone through so much with this franchise. Cliff, Keim, contract clause, injuries. Do right by him. Get him an alpha. That is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Kyler deserves competent coaching and management, and he has that now. And I think he, not to steal a phrase, I think he trusts the process with whatever they opt to do. And they are doing right by Kyler. I mean, this is the best receiving core he's going to have. The physicality, the size, we talk about it all the time, Killer Rex. Like, think about the receivers Kyler's cooked with. D-Hop was over 6 foot. AJ Green that first year. I think Tweezy, remember Tweezy, couple touchdowns against Dallas.
Yeah.
They've understood now. Let's get Kyler some big bodies here. Cardinal Charles, our guy back, $2. How about this? MHJ. Now, this isn't on other sports books, but right now, minus 430 to be taken 4th overall on FanDuel. Wow. Okay. FanDuel, those dirty dogs.
We were talking earlier, and BetMGM had a pretty surprising line. It was minus 165. I just tried to put $100 on it, and they moved it up to minus 300. BetMGM just did.
Whoa. So there's been some pretty big shifts on BetMGM and other sports books today. Earlier today, he was minus 225, Marvin Harrison Jr. And then the second favorite was JJ McCarthy. Before showtime, Marvin Harrison Jr. shifted to minus 165, and Drake May overtook JJ McCarthy as the second favorite to go 4th overall. So now there's been another shift to where Marvin Harrison Jr. is what you're telling me, Damon, is minus 300
on BetMGM, correct?
On BetMGM. So he went from minus 225 to minus 165 to minus 300, which that's got to be the highest it's been since before Minnesota acquired a second.
I think that's the highest it's ever been. How about this, though? I just got tagged in this. Alexander Ludwig, good follow on Twitter, friend of the show, tagged you and I and said, I hope you've seen this. This is a quote tweet from Art Stapleton, who's the New York Giant beat reporter. Not to pee on the parade here. Basically, Rich Eisen had JJ McCarthy on and asked him, do you have any idea where you're going to end up? And he goes, I have somewhat of an idea. New York Giants. I've spent the most time with them. They're a phenomenal staff. Art Stapleton goes, I dare you to watch this and not think JJ McCarthy thinks the Giants are very interested, very comfortable speaking on New York Giants beyond the usual talking points.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the scenario now. If Minnesota is unwilling to meet the asking price of the Cardinals,
right, for sure,
and maybe not in the Chargers, the Giants can just sit there and stick and pick at 6. I mean, their interest, we've documented it. I mean, as you outlined with the Easter Sunday dinner at Ruth Chris and in the
fact that they went there blows
top 30 and, combine conversations and him admitting right there to Rich Eisen, this is the team I've spent the most time with. So,
but you read that and then you see what Dane Brugler and company posted yesterday, and they're like, Giants are out on him.
Yeah.
So, does he think he's going to the Giants? But the Giants are like, actually, JJ, we're ghosting you. We're not feeling it. That's
how we hit it off. Ruth Chris, right? We shared some of those, some steaks. And
what's Ruth Chris like in the level of chain restaurants? Is it Olive Garden-esque or is it better than
no?
That? It's top tier chain.
Yeah, it's a chain that you would be proud to go.
Ruth Chris, I think the Giants brass is taking him to a chain restaurant when you are in New York and you have all the steakhouses available.
It's a nice steakhouse. It's just like
it is nice, but Gable seems like a Ruth Chris guy.
And stuff like
it's a chain though. That's
Frisco's. It's not Black Angus or Texas Roadhouse.
That's how I think of it. Should I not be doing that? Okay,
a little misconception. How about Jonathan jumping in here with a super chat? $4.99. A Cards fan from the UK at Illinois for an exchange year. Johnny Newton was the best player on the field every week. Love him, as I know the Cards do too. And you're going to hear a little bit more about Johnny Newton later in this show when we talk to Trevor Sikkema. A little foreshadowing there, but absolutely, I think the Cardinals. Johnny, you talked to Johnny at the combine, and he said he spent a lot of time with the Cardinals organization during his final season with the Illini.
Yeah, he told me like point blank, no team talked to me more during the season than the Cardinals. So I mean, you watch his tape and it's like that's Jonathan Gannon's Fletcher Cox 2.0. Like same kind of player, explosive, can get upfield, 8 to 10 sack ceiling. He's exactly what they need. And I think you're going to have to trade up to get him. And I would give up a package of picks, a third rounder plus to go up and get him, because I like the moves that they made on the defensive line, but those guys are placeholders. They're good players. You want them in your rotation, just like a wide receiver. They don't have an alpha at defensive tackle. So, and you can say the same thing about pass rusher and corner, but I think Johnny Newton, to me, I like him more, frankly, than any other pass rushers. And I like him more than any of the corners. Like we're vibing with Johnny Newton. We've been on him since November, December last year. Kev Brooks, $1.99. I really think LA loves Latham and takes him at 5. That'd be flipping wild, Kev Brooks. But you know what? We saw the Jim Harbaugh, it wasn't him, but his coaching staff at their pro day had their hands all over him. Basically, we're working him out. And I do think, Kev, like he's their ideal trade target to move down. But if it's like the Cardinals last year, what the Cardinals kind of signal behind the scenes that we had is they love Paris enough they're going to take him 3rd overall.
Yeah.
If you love your guy, you just take him and you just say F everybody else.
Taking him overall, that's pretty crazy to me.
Yeah, that was the difference. Is Paris was the best tackle period last year.
I've got 3 tackles, and what do I know? But 3 tackles ahead of J.C. Latham. But you look back at the pro day, and the signs are there, right? Johnny, follow the signs. Like they got their guy working individually with
his hands
Latham.
all over him.
Yeah,
he's basically like, okay, when you're on our team, this is how you're going to be set. And I just want to see you move your hips this way. And it's like, I don't think Jim Harbaugh can help himself. I love him. I think he's got to tell. I don't think he wants a receiver. I think if he's mandated to do it by his GM, he will because of the talent discrepancy. But they want to build. You've heard people say this. They want to build a bully. I think they're going to take J.C. Latham or Joe Alt. And then they're going to take Blake Corum with their first pick of the 2nd round. And he's just going to be like, we're going to ram the ball 40 times a game at you. We know we can't outpace Patrick Mahomes yet. Pretty nuts.
Marvin already dropped to -400 on BetMGM. Again.
It's great. I'm excited for that. I'm cautiously optimistic. We'd say
it's plummeting.
What if they got him
in a good way
as the 4th pick or to the Cardinals?
4th pick.
The 4th pick.
But the Cardinals aren't trading
right
for someone who's going to pick Marvin.
Like you saw the nonsense about
no. But Mike
wanting to get up to 3.
Yeah,
for Marvin. It's like, come on, can we can you just save crazy for another day?
What if you traded with the Giants? The Chargers took J.C. Latham, and you got Marvin at pick 6.
But he's the favorite to go 4.
Right. That's why I asked that.
Yeah.
Rook King, $1.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. Kev Brooks, $4.99. Also, if LA trades with Minnesota, Latham would be the pick. So that would be enticing for LA to move back and still get their guy. Sikkema believes this too. Yeah, we just outlined that for sure. But what happens if you can't trade down? I think Daniel Jeremiah is telegraphing that JJ McCarthy is just not a hot commodity anymore.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. I mean, smokescreen season, it was in full effect. Tony jumping in here. How about the $5 from Tony? Regardless, tomorrow is going to be epic at Gila River. Can't wait to see you all. #HTL, #BirdGang. Right there with you, Tony. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. It is going to be an unbelievable day for this organization, for its fan base. It's we've earned it, right? And
supposedly I haven't earned anything.
No, you have.
I'm going to be tearing tickets at the door, and then I'm going to have to go sit in my car and listen to the broadcast over the radio. That's what everybody said I had to do.
You sit with your back turned to everybody. We're gonna get you a little PHNX stuff.
It's hurtful because Marv has been like my 3rd child.
Buddy, I know. I'm right there with you. I don't know how I'm avoiding all this
uneducated people coming in our chat right now to suggest that because we discussed trade options that were haters and that were mid and that were clowns. Short stack goblin.
I'm here every damn day, Johnny, and I've made you guys the barometer of evil.
I do think it's partially Damon's fault. There's some truth to
for
that.
Sure. But that's what you get when you make me put a Viking on the thumbnail every damn day for 2 months straight.
I don't know about that. Short stack goblin, $1.99. NFL teams, Johnny, do dumb stuff. Excuse me. We should know. Yeah, they do. And I think, again, that's why we were buying the McCarthy hype, because we just assume that the Vikings feel like they could give up the farm for a quarterback with limitations. But where JJ McCarthy goes, if it does go chalk, 3 QBs, Marvin, where McCarthy goes becomes the biggest intrigue in the draft. And if the Vikings, what if the Vikings don't get him? What are the Vikings doing? Like, I'm actively rooting for the Vikings to fail tomorrow. As much as like the fans have been great during this draft season, if we've broken down some potential trade scenarios, the Vikings to me need to fall on their face tomorrow, because the way they've handled this situation is laughable at best.
They fumbled it. Joshua jumping in with a super chat. Whatever happens, I love you guys, especially Damon. Thank you, Joshua.
Much love, Joshua.
Zachary K, $5 super chat. Here's a nice message for you, Johnny. Thanks for all the great coverage this offseason and for withstanding the hate. Hold the MF in line.
You'll never get rid of me. Thank you so much, Zach. I love it so much here. This is the legit. I'm being serious here. This is not tongue in cheek. Find a better Cardinal community than this. You cannot. No. This is the best. This is the best of the best. Well, the best Arizona sports community and PHNX sports, but Cardinal coverage, you can't beat your boys here. Nobody can. Cardinal Charles 71. No matter what happens, I love this community. Perfect timing. This community is going to be out in full force tomorrow in a sold-out event at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And again, if you can't join, we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage. Where can you find specific draft coverage for your favorite team for 20-plus hours over the next 3 days with special guests and surprises, in-depth analysis, on-site folks giving live updates from Detroit? It's going to be something that we're very proud of, this broadcast we have coming up here over the next 3 days.
Yeah, proud of this team, proud of this chat, this community. Come a long way, and tomorrow is the culmination of sorts. You know, if they make that pick, if we get that jingle, and then we're gonna go all crazy together. Booms, $4.99 super chat. Let us not forget, Bo was the first to leave the hold the line movement.
That's true.
When we draft MHJ,
we didn't forget.
You can hold these nuts. On the real guys are the best. Thank you, Booms.
Very kind words.
This is great that we
I nearly came to tears. I almost got emotional, man. That was lovely.
We read super chats where people pay money to verbally abuse us, and then we have to do a hard transition to like professional guests. I love that about this show. Marvin,
I'm sure Omar Ruiz was like, look at these savages. From the host to the people in the chat.
Like, people watch this, their fans are tuning in, just ripping them. They don't even like these guys. Marvin Harrison Jr., $1.99. Zachary doing tricks on it, low key. Who's Zachary?
He was the one who wrote you that nice message.
Oh man, thank you so much. Marv, welcome, friend. We can make amends tomorrow. Yep. Topic 64, the OG friend of the program, $9.99. Thank you so much. I hope we hold the line at 4. And I hope we get that monster from Missouri. Darius is that guy. Friend of the program topic. We had him on during the Super Bowl. This draft could turn things around for this team. My guy is super excited. Well, topic 64, we're excited. This is the most, and I don't say this like, I say this candidly and not tongue in cheek. It's the most important weekend for the Arizona Cardinals in 2.5 years, 2 years. And this has a chance to be the draft where everybody looks back and says, well, yeah, this is how this team kickstarted 5 to 7 and 10 years of relevancy, hopefully of postseason success. Because last year they put the culture in place. The culture's in place now. Now you got to get some dogs. You got to get some players starting tomorrow.
Absolutely. Keeping it going here. $13.99 from Too Slim Shady. I'll be writing a final exam during the first part of the draft. If I find out we didn't take Marvin Harrison Jr. or I fail the exam, I'm blaming Johnny. Why? I don't know. Just feels right.
Slim Shady is somebody who failed their fair share of exams that I'll take one for the team there. And, if you need me to call into your instructor, I'm happy to do that as well.
That's right up. That would be a tough day. That would be a rough day for him.
Yeah.
They passed on MHJ and just didn't get it. Didn't study the right stuff, or it's not good.
No, the new regime, $4.99. If they pick MHJ at 4, you guys have to let Damon play a montage clip of Johnny saying we're trading the pick. Why is it just me? Bo said that too.
I mean, how long do you want this compilation to be? Because we could probably just
we have better things to do than that, Damon. We
should mash up the last month of shows and just put it all together. And
I'm all about pretty much living in the now.
Yeah. Why are you looking back?
Looking forward. Yeah.
Regime.
30-hour cut up of Johnny and Bo talking about trading down.
Look, you want to live in the past? You can go live in the past.
I'm sorry that all the NFL insiders told me the Cardinals are going to trade the pick, and so we talk about it on the show. Come on.
You have it sourced. If they get offered 3 first, they're not turning it down.
They're taking 3 1s, but if no one offers 3 1s, then they're not going to take it. Guess what? Because it's not there. I gotta take. Let me read you some text from this morning.
Oh boy,
I'm gonna read these.
I'm gonna read Grinsome real quick. 199 super chat. You get those texts in order.
Okay.
Got the super chat, Damon. I'm about to break into draft party. What is it? What's the hashtag name? Maybe you could put it together.
F work draft.
Oh, nice. Yes.
All right.
I'm sorry that you're missing this because of work.
These are some
we appreciate you.
These are some text messages. These are all on the record, but they're off the record. They're for this show only. There isn't a single source that knows what the Cardinals are going to do. Mm-hmm. Period. Book it. End of story. This is a new era. There isn't a single source for the Arizona Cardinals the night before the draft that will put information out there. Monti Ossenfort is all about his business. So I do think there's some truth to that, but also is it possible Marvin's getting or Breer's getting information from Marvin Harrison Jr., Schefter's getting information from agents? Yeah, but we know definitively the Cardinals don't talk to people nationally.
Right. It's not the former general manager who would tell anybody that would listen what they're doing, right? It's Monti Ossenfort. I love that he's all about his business, right? That's you want one of those guys as the architect to your team. That gets me fired up. But there's so many people within any given NFL organization. There are going to be leaks. They're going to be people that got loose lips, and they think that even if they have something to gain with it or not, they're going to tell somebody some information that's going to make its way to other people who insiders or reporters. And Monti Ossenfort, GM, assistant general manager. You've got a full scouting department. You got people in the front office with big time titles that are privy to information. And I'm sure they're told, and there will be serious repercussions if they were caught. But since the start of this whole business, people have been leaking information. So as much as I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Matt Miller basket, I don't doubt that he heard that from somebody that is tied either to the organization or loosely tied to the organization.
Ben, the Cardinals fan, $2. Jalen McMillan at 71. MHJ and McMillan would be a hit. I agree with that. I think the perfect time to take a receiver is, ideally you wouldn't do it at 35.
If you get an X at 4, an alpha X like Marvin Harrison Jr., McMillan in the slot, be fantastic. Your slot receiver of the future. I love that. Cardinals
need to end the first 2 days with 2 starting caliber receivers. And I think they will. The Mike. I feel pretty good that Marv is going to be a Cardinal now. I am too excited now. $4.99. I want you to be excited. I want everybody to be excited, Bo.
Yeah.
Look at this next super chat. Can you even read this next super chat? Somebody paid $2 to say F you, Johnny.
They didn't even give you the respect to spell your name right.
People saying, let it go. What? Let what go? Our draft coverage? You guys just want us to turn off the mics? We're not going to do that because we got Trevor Sikkema coming up, baby. But before we do that, we want to tell you about our friends at Circle K. Join the inner circle today. It's America's thirst stop. If you're not coming to the draft party, shame on you. But if you're picking up some tasty treats in the meantime, like Circle K products, I was just in Circle K the other day. The pizza aroma was off the chart. They've got coffee, ice-cold fountain drinks. They've got an array of snacks, original OG snacks. Every 6 free selection, by the way, on a selection of Circle K products are for free via America's Thirst Stop. It's a free new membership program. Plus, if you just sign up, Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app. I'm a member. Bo, Damon Dog, our guy, Michael Wilson, he's a member of the Inner Circle. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Some more draft odds, according to some major sports books out there. Some updates on that in just a moment. After Daniel Jeremiah's final mock dropped, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where we're going to be hanging out tomorrow for our draft party. But it's not just all about going there for a draft party. Go out there and achieve legendary status at any of their resorts and casinos around the valley. They offer an authentic and immersive experience, unprecedented level of entertainment, excitement you're going to find anywhere else in the desert. They've set the bar tremendously high. We love everything about our partnership with Gila River Resorts and Casinos, and even not involved in our partnership. I just love to go hit the tables, hit the sports book. It's all first class, but you can find, different, dining options there, from prime Shula Steakhouse, or you can just grab a cocktail by one of their great pools. Check out the new Santan Mountain. Head over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos and let them show you what the next level is all about. You do you. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playGila.com for more details. Somebody tagged me on Twitter in this, Johnny. Looks like this is FD Sportsbook, where you've got James Katner saying after DJ's mock draft, Marvin for FD is minus 430. Minus 430. JJ McCarthy's plus 410, and Drake May is plus 650.
Good time to emotionally hedge if you're into that kind of thing. I mean, I'm such a douchebag. I like this from Booms. Bo is the Emperor. Johnny is Anakin Skywalker. Bo is the Emperor. There's no doubt about it.
He's evil, right?
Yeah, that would make Damon Padme, I think.
I don't know what that means.
Oh my!
Do you know what that means, Damon?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
brother, are you not locked in on Star Wars like that?
Not as much.
I've been trying to get Bo to watch The Mandalorian since we started doing this show together, and he just constantly spits in my face. He doesn't do it.
So I've got DK Sportsbook has Marvin Harrison Jr. at minus 250.
Minus 430 is wild.
Yeah, that.
You know what that tells me? That a lot of people on that sports book have been putting money down on Marvin to go for.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeremiah, who's probably the premier draft expert, he drives a lot of action, especially on this day. People waiting around to put some money on the draft for tomorrow.
I was going to say this, Brian. I think I'm the Obi-Wan in this situation.
You're trying to convince me to come to the.
We grew up together. We were brothers on the line, and then you left us and you joined the dark side.
Yeah,
it's just perfect. And Padme is Marvin Harrison Jr. At the end of the day.
That's true.
Really interesting, guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. minus 400 on BetMGM.
So only DraftKings is yet to catch up to everybody else here. Anything minus over 350 is pretty safe. I mean, I saw somebody say Drake May has worse odds than MHJ now to go third. Marvin's got better odds than Drake May to be selected where he's at. So I think I think we've come to a conclusion here on this show. The JJ McCarthy hype train is dead on arrival, or it was never alive. And there was just some propaganda to push it up. I think he's still going to be a first round pick, but I mean, like the definitiveness that many people were signaling that McCarthy was going to be a top 5 pick. It wasn't a question of Willie. It was who's he going to go to? Who's going to trade back for him? Could he go as high as 2? At the very least, his floor, the Chargers at 5. Like that feels like that's about done, right? Outside of the Chargers taking whatever from Minnesota.
Yeah. Look, the leader of that charge was Jim Harbaugh. And Jim Harbaugh,
you really believe that?
Stood to benefit from that the most. No doubt about it. I mean, he was trying to finesse the entire league because he was his quarterback at his 15-0 Michigan national championship team. And then he jumps to the NFL, getting back where he had an immense amount of success to an organization that could stand to use some good non-quarterback position players. And he could do it through sticking and picking at 5 or getting the trade down himself. I mean, it just all signs point to Jim Harbaugh being probably the biggest beneficiary from JJ McCarthy working his way into the top 5. Don't you think?
Especially if he's trying to take JC Latham, which I think you and I both agree is not worth a top 10 pick right now. I like JC Latham right now, but I mean, not the higher ground, but not at 5.
I don't know. I'm laughing at that. I don't even get the.
Oh my God, Bo, where have you been?
You're such a loser, Bo. I can't believe you're not locked in like this.
Anakin Skywalker. No, I'm sorry. Obi-Wan to me is an old man. I don't know young Obi-Wan.
Sad.
Arguably the greatest Jedi in the history of the galaxy. That is probably the best resume.
His fighting resume is insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Johnny gets it.
How would I know that? Because when I've seen him fighting, he goes down.
The only fight he ever lost was when he basically conceded his last fight.
He gets KO'd for good.
That happen.
No, he was an old man at that point, and he used that as a distraction to let the rest of the party escape on the Millennium Falcon. He won damn near every other fight he was in. Do we need to just take a hard right turn from Star Wars to Trevor Sikkema here?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk to Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus as it relates to all these wonderful topics that are not Star Wars, but of course.
Do we really have this poll going in the
NFL draft? I'm ignoring.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I'm numb to the chat right now.
Let's get to Trev. 24 hours away from the first round of the NFL draft, a pivotal moment for this Arizona Cardinals team in its rebuild, and we got the best in the business. Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus. We've been churning out mock drafts on a daily basis. I hope you have the PFF mock draft simulator. Trev, how we doing less than 24 hours away from the big day?
Guys, obviously very excited to be with you and get to talk some football with you guys, but I'm going to be honest. I'm done talking about it. Like, I want to see what happens, right? I've done so many mock drafts. I've had so many great conversations. We've talked about the what if, like what could happen. I'm just really excited about that at this point to just find out what's actually going to happen here on night 1.
Okay, well, I'm not going to spare you a JJ McCarthy question off the top here because it does feel like over the last 24 hours, based on what some people are reporting, and maybe even kind of the numbers in Vegas, is the JJ McCarthy hype train dead on arrival? Like, because I do think Drake May is going to go 3rd overall to New England Patriots. Then suddenly, like, could the Vikings just stay at 11-23? Are the Giants not in on JJ McCarthy? Could we look back, Trevor, on this entire draft saga for 2 months and say the JJ McCarthy hype train was overblasted by the media, by scouts, and then maybe he just falls to where he was really supposed to go to?
Man, it's a multi-layered answer there. I'll start with the McCarthy part. I think that there's a lot of things to like about McCarthy, but this whole time, and I've said this on different shows that I've been on and even my own podcast, like, it's felt like a game of telephone, right? It's felt like a game of, you know how in the game, like you tell somebody something and they're supposed to repeat it, but they get something wrong, and then that person will get something wrong on top of that. And then at the end of the game, like the end of the telephone is way different than what the beginning was. I think people looked at JJ McCarthy and went, hey, you know what? Really like what I saw in 2023. Got a lot better from 2022, improved in a lot of different ways. And then somebody went, yeah, you know what? I like McCarthy too. Hey, you know, maybe he could be a first rounder. And somebody goes, hey, you know what? I like McCarthy too, but I like him a lot, man. I'm thinking maybe top 20. Then somebody goes, well, what about top 10? All right, top 5. Okay, now he's going 2 overall. So it's like, it's just, how did we get here? You know, we get to the end of the line, and now, you know, to answer your question, it seems like, okay, well, is now JJ falling? But I like the way that you phrase that because I think it's more of just regression to what it probably should have been all along. JJ McCarthy's a good quarterback prospect. He really is, but the top 10, top 5 love always felt really rich. And now we're hearing of scenarios of, okay, it feels like we're getting closer to what we know is going to happen in the top 3. Caleb at 1, Jaden at 2, Drake May at 3. And then we've heard, well, all right, it seems like the Giants and the Vikings more were hoping May was going to slide down. And look, again, maybe that still happens. But if not, maybe they don't love McCarthy, right? Maybe it's not just this scenario where for the longest time we said, well, there's 4 quarterbacks that could go in the top 5. So that means that who's ever left on the board at number 4, Arizona will be able to call up the Giants, call up the Vikings, call up the Raiders, call up the Broncos, call up one of those teams, and they're going to bid against each other for McCarthy. And in reality, maybe not all 4 of those teams like McCarthy. Maybe none of them like McCarthy that much. And I think that's kind of the part of this that we're now exploring, of how we're getting to this reality that we think we are solidified with the top 3, but as we're analyzing what is going to happen and trying to predict what happens at number 4 with the Cardinals, it's not as much of a home run. Yeah, Monty's going to go off and deal the pick like he did last year, like we know he is capable of doing, because if there's not a suitor who's going to give him a realistic deal, why would you move on from Malik Nabers? Why would you move on from Marvin Harrison Jr.? And I think now that's the conversation that we're having about the Cardinals about 24 hours out from draft night.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into that conversation, because it feels like it's one of the final things that we need to get aside before we actually get to who is trending towards the pick for the Cardinals. But Monti Ossenfort, he used the analogy of he loves his home. He wants to, set roots there in the ground at his new home and raise his family, his wife, his beautiful kids. But if somebody knocked on his door and said, overwhelmed him with a price, that he's rounding up the family and he's getting out of there. He's taking the overwhelming price tag. But are there teams that you feel are going to get desperate at this point, or are they seeing that JJ McCarthy, they could have him and not have to pay the price to Monti Ossenfort, and he would be fully content with taking what players available at 4?
Well, yeah, I think the answer is a little bit of kind of the way that you set up the question there, right? It kind of depends which quarterback is there. If Drake May were to be QB4 on the board and he's still there, it sure sounds like the Giants and the Vikings would both be very willing to move up. And I think you'd have a serious bidding war between those two teams. You're probably talking about, the Giants number 6 overall pick, but then probably something on day 2 this year, probably something on day 2 next year, maybe even a first next year, depending on what Minnesota's offer is. And Minnesota's offer, right, you got to think that, well, the reason they traded for number 23 this year is so if a situation came up where they were happy trading up for one of these guys that's available, they've got the ammunition to do it. Now, I will say this. For the Vikings side of things, I think it's been very easy to just plug the Vikings in with them going up to number 4 no matter what, trading away 11, 23, and then future assets. It gets sort of difficult when you talk about, well, is it worth it to move all the way down from 4 to 11 for Arizona? Because you talk about some of the wide receivers that they're going to be giving up if they do that. And they could always trade back up, and it's true, but it's difficult to do what Ossenfort did last year. Not that he can't do it again, but it's a lot of moving parts. And sometimes you just run out of time to be able to do it. And sometimes it's just not as easy as that. You've got to have kind of deals lined up to where, okay, one domino falls and the next one immediately, like a chain reaction, just boom, 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 this immediately happens. And it doesn't always work like that in the NFL draft. And I think that he knows that. So for the Vikings trade, I've seen a lot of people say, all right, well, it's going to take 11, it's going to take 23, and then it's going to take 2024 draft capital as well to get all the way from 4 to 11. I don't think the Vikings are going to want to give up anything in 2025. I really mean that. They give up their second-round pick this year in order to get number 23, so they don't have a second-round pick next year. So they're certainly not going to give up a first-round pick this year, a first-round pick next year, and a first-round pick in 2025, because that means they're not even picking until the 3rd round of that draft. I also don't even know if they're going to give up a 3rd round pick, because then they're not picking until the 4th round and then day 3 of 2025. So is Minnesota really going to want to do that? I'm not so sure about that either. So the price maybe isn't as high as you would normally think, but again, maybe Minnesota doesn't even want to deal that at all because of who's going to be left on the board. And I think, again, that's the interesting parts of this conversation is before it was, well, does Minnesota want to try to trade up all of this to go get a quarterback? And now it is, do they want to do that for McCarthy specifically if he's going to be the only one left on the board? And now you're talking more of, okay, exactly who it is. You're putting a face, if you will, to the trade up portion of this conversation. And that is the part that, again, I don't think we'll get the answer to that until they come on the clock.
You mentioned potentially dropping out of the top 10 and missing out on one of the big 3 wide receivers. Trevor, what do you believe is the floor for Marvin, Nabers, and Rome to go? Because I think that's a big sticking point with Cardinal fans is, number one, they don't want to trade. Number two, if they do a trade, Nabers and Rome are going to be gone. All these teams that need receivers are right behind them in the top 10. So what do you believe is the furthest? Let's just assume Rome is number 3 on most people's boards. Where's the furthest he could fall before being selected, in your opinion?
The true floor is the Jets at 10, right? If he makes it to the Jets, I mean, he's going to be a New York Jet. There's no question about it. I could answer that with the Bears at number 9 as well. I think that they would take him, although Matt Eberflus, the head coach in Chicago, his whole defense, centers around a really good 3-technique defensive tackle, and they don't have that on their team right now. They could draft one in Byron Murphy. So not 100% guarantee that they would take Rome Odunze if he's available. They could opt for Byron Murphy, but again, that's a floor spot as well. And then I'll also say there is a world where the Falcons want to get out of that 8 pick. And so they're calling people a little bit later and saying, hey, who wants to come up for one of these wide receivers? Maybe if a quarterback's still on the board, you're doing that as well. So anywhere from 8 to 10, but I would say to the spirit of your question, 10 is the floor for Odunze. And that's why things get a little bit tricky with Arizona, because if they trade out of the top 10 with any of Minnesota, Denver, Las Vegas, if they have aspirations of still trading down just to trade back up, you're basically going to have to trade to one of those spots and then already have a deal in place, essentially, with the Titans at 7 or the Falcons at 8, who I think are both two teams that would like to trade down here in this draft.
I feel like we're finally in a space where we can actually analyze what Marvin Harrison Jr. would potentially bring to the Arizona Cardinals. And Johnny, for as much as we've talked about this, we haven't talked about MHJ wearing a Cardinals uniform and catching passes from Kyler Murray too much. Trevor, we want to give you the floor as maybe our first guy to get a crack at it and maybe break down what that would look like and mean to the Arizona Cardinals as a franchise going forward.
No, I mean, it's huge. It is. And we're seeing the impact of wide receivers all over the league. I mean, if you're one of the top receivers in the game, you just do so much. Now, look, is this valuable as a quarterback? No, of course not. But what Justin Jefferson does to Minnesota, what Jamar Chase does to Cincinnati, what Amon-Ra St. Brown, he just signed a massive contract. What he does to the Detroit Lions, like you just see, it's just a total flip of the switch of what you can do on offense when you have a player of this caliber. And to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. reminds me of like a Devontae Adams style of wide receiver, where he's just so good at everything. And of course, I'm not calling him Devontae Adams yet, but what Devontae does so well and why he is considered one of the best, if not the best wide receivers in the NFL is because he has such a mastery of the position. No matter what coverage shell you are in, whether you're in press coverage, whether you're in off coverage, whether you have inside or outside leverage, Devontae knows exactly how to attack you. He knows how to tempo the routes. He knows how to set you up with his releases. He knows how to fool you with his head fakes and his shoulder fakes. He's great with his feet. He's fantastic throughout his routes, whether it's at the beginning, the breaking point, or finishing with good speed at the end. Those are all things that I have seen Marvin Harrison Jr. do at the college level, but I have faith that he can become that type of well-rounded, all-around, true all-pro receiver in the NFL. And so when you have that, it just benefits so much of your offense in so many different ways. You get other wide receivers open. You get to manipulate space. Like if you have him on one side and you have bunch formation on another, well, all of a sudden you can't just allocate all of these resources over to the bunch side of things because you've pretty much got to have 2 sets of eyes at a minimum on Marvin Harrison Jr. He's just going to carve you up. So now you've got even bodies or even +1 on one side of the heavy side of the formation if you've got a lot of wide receivers over there. So it's like he can change the numbers kind of a wide receiver. And I'm not saying he's going to do that for day one, but he's got that kind of potential. And that's who Marvin Harrison Jr. is to me. And that's why he is my number 2 overall player behind only Caleb Williams in this draft.
Trevor, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me 2 players, one of which that you think is going to go higher than people expect, and another player that maybe we've touted in mock drafts or otherwise that could fall a little bit into day 2 or even day 3.
Yeah, I think the faller to me, the 2 that kind of stand out this week are Jackson Powers-Johnson and A.D. Mitchell, 2 really, really talented football players who I think depending on which team you ask, they might say, oh, yeah, I mean, we'd take this guy in the first round, absolutely. And other teams might be like, yeah, we'll let somebody else take him in the first round. We're not going to lose sleep over it. So those are 2 guys that just for different reasons, I think Jackson Powers-Johnson, he's got a little bit of an injury history that I just don't think is being as widely reported, and I think that some people are a little bit lower on him. Certainly the center position of just positional value overall. It's a deep center class. So you really got to take him in the first round. He might slide a little bit for that. A.D. Mitchell, I love the highs of what this guy could do, but there's no doubt about it. There seems to be a discrepancy in the high profile plays versus just the mundane plays, and the effort level, the speed. It's just different. And anytime there's varying effort, the teams get a little bit wary. So I think that those are two guys who could very well slip into day two, early parts of day two, when we were mocking them in the first round all along. Guys who I think could go a little bit higher. Two that immediately come to mind. I think there's a shot that Xavier Worthy could be the fourth wide receiver off the board. You know, I don't think there is a consensus of, it's going to be Brian Thomas Jr., who's the next guy, or like I said, or an AD Mitchell or whatever. I think everybody you talk to says the same thing. It's the big three, and then it's a big gap. And anytime there is that big gap, if we're acknowledging that big gap, you're saying that there's going to be a lot of variance in whatever comes next. Like, there's going to be a lot of flavor of who would you rather have here. And I just feel as though Xavier Worthy, certainly the long speed, but also I feel the way I've heard people within the league kind of talk about him, it's more universally positive than I thought it was going to be. Like, we're not talking about him like we talked about Jalen Hyatt the previous year, right? Where he was like just this vertical threat and not really much else. It seems like a lot of people like this guy a lot more as a football player. So him maybe as wide receiver 4 in this draft. And then Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle from Arizona, I think has just gone under the radar. And we've often not put him in first rounds just because there's been flashier names, Tyler Guyton, Kingsley Suamataia, guys like that. But genuinely, I think that Morgan could be drafted even ahead of those guys somewhere in the late part of the first round.
The arm length isn't an issue for you, or it isn't with teams for the most part?
Well, I just think that teams can look at him, and the reason why I think he might sneak in the back end of round 1, arm length is an issue for me. It's why I'm a little bit lower on him, because I think that he might be more of a guard. But when teams look at him, I think they look at that guard potential for him, and they just see the versatility. They don't really see the limitations as much. They just see a guy who can play both. It's just, the way that I've heard people talk about him feels as though he could be a riser up into the first round.
When we look at 27, we'll get you out on this. You've been so generous with your time, the entire offseason, the entire draft season. 27th overall, wide receiver, if it's addressed early in the draft for this Cardinals team, they neglected the edge rush position. Maybe Chop's there. I don't know about the big three. Who could they potentially target in that range, I guess? Can you give us maybe like 2 or 3 players?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they want like Chop Robinson, I'd rather wait and hit that at the beginning of the second round. I'd rather see like, okay, because Chop to me, crazy athlete. Obviously we know that, but just the backfield production wasn't there for him. He's not going to do much for you defending the run. I think he's going to be a pass rush specialist at the NFL level, which is fine. Obviously, like Hassan Reddick certainly has been a phenomenal player throughout his career, just being a pass rush specialist, and it's been absolutely worth it. Like Bryce Huff was that for the New York Jets, and it's obviously worked out really well. It's very valuable, but I think that's more of I'd wait for that at the beginning of the second round. End of the first round at 27, if one of the lockdown corners gets to you, right, like Kool-Aid McKinstry, Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, I think any of those two players, Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell aren't making it that far. But any of those lockdown corners I think are there. But the dream, fellas, is Johnny Newton. That's the dream. If you get out of this first round with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jerzon Newton, I mean, it's just masterclass if that's able to happen. I love Jerzon Newton. I have him as a top 12 player in this class. I think the league is lower on him than I am. I don't really know why. Like, okay, I get it. Like he's a little bit the length, he's a little bit lighter in weight, but watch the tape, man. The effort's through the roof. He's playing everywhere from 5 technique to 0 technique. He stays blocked for half a second at the most. And his hands are always working. He's so quick getting through gaps. Sure, he's not like a hold the line kind of a run defender, but put him in 3 technique spots a lot. Like put a strong nose tackle next to him. Give you a strong base end next to him. Let this guy pin his ears back and play some damn good football. And he's been able to over the last 2 years at Illinois. And I think he would be able to for the Cardinals as well. To me, he'd be their most talented defensive lineman right off the bat. So
do you know what he told us at the Combine? He said that no team met with him more during the college football season than the Arizona Cardinals. So I think the Cardinals are speaking your language here, but I'm with you. I think 27, it's a gift from the football gods. I think Monti Ossenfort, if he sticks and picks at pick 4, Trev, that he will have an inkling to either trade up or trade down with 27. I don't expect them to make the pick at 27. If Jerzon Newton falls into the early 20s, you shoot somebody a 3rd-round pick and you go get him.
If they come away in this draft with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Johnny Newton, I'm buying a Monti Ossenfort jersey, or like, or like I don't know, for a GM, what is it, like a suit, like the tie, like whatever.
You
like
might have to
whatever
shave your head, actually.
The
you might have to go
jersey
bald.
equivalent, yeah, shave my head, whatever. Like whatever the equivalent is to buying a player's jersey because you like him. If Ossenfort can do that, I'm doing that equivalent for what he's been able to do as a GM over the last couple of years, because that would be incredible if they were able to do that.
We were wearing Monty bald caps before it was cool, but you can join us. You can absolutely jump on the bandwagon. You need to be jumping on Trevor Sikkema's bandwagon the rest of the way. The most talented draft analyst expert out there. Check out the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator while you still can. And look, it's going to be fired up soon after the NFL draft. You're going to want to use it for day 2 and day 3. Get to PFF.com. Read Trevor's great work. Follow him on Twitter at Tampa Bay Trey if you haven't already done so. Trev, thank you so much for your help. Your insight this draft season.
I appreciate it, guys. It's been fun talking to y'all draft season. So this is great, man. We can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
Cutting it close, my man. We're back on PHNX Cardinals. Thank you so much, Trevor Sikkema. Great insights. Major takeaway was that, as people said in the chat, I think Trev very much a hold the line member, and he likes the value of a Chop Robinson and Jerzon Newton at the back half of the first round, but. Trev's the best. We wish him the best because, making those big national appearances takes time for your boys. We appreciate that.
We knew him when he was blowing up. He's blowing up right now.
Yes.
Not before. But you turn on the TV tomorrow, I'm sure you're going to see him talking the drafts with some big wigs out there. And it's an honor to have Trevor Sikkema on this show. And Johnny Newton, Chop Robinson, guys on the defensive front 7. I think that's the next place to pivot to. And then, as he mentioned, just a corner, like a cover corner, an outside corner would be huge to pair with Sean Murphy bunting and rebuilding this defense that gave up the 2nd most points last year. So they can go a couple different directions, but there's going to be some talent in this deep draft and really kind of chip away at it.
The good news is we only have one more super chat yet left, and it does yet again abuse me verbally here. Bonnie Breckerable, JV in a Zoolander look when he's nervous is amazing. I'll appreciate that, Bonnie. You guys are the best today. 663 live. Drop a like on this video. Guess
Johnny,
what?
I have more stuff that will make you feel better. We have the results of this poll. Who's more of an enemy of the line?
I don't need to know how they voted in this poll.
Johnny, 47%. It's hard to even pick one, 35%, and Bo at 17%.
What was I?
You were at 47%, and it's hard to pick one, was 35%. So I'd say, that's comfortably, about 82% of people blaming you.
Winners win. I won the poll. Thank you.
Yeah, no matter what, you're the winner of that poll.
Damn,
but I'm not.
Damon.
Look, I'm guilty as well.
We're not guilty of anything other than keeping it real.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. We keep it real on this podcast. And if this is the first day of MHJ coronation period, this pod is going to be excited. And we're going to do it right every single day here at 4:30 p.m. on PHNX Cardinals, because that's it for our pre-draft show. We want to thank Trevor. We want to thank Omar. We want to thank our entirety of our draft peeps throughout this draft season. Brian Baldinger, who we're going to chat with next week. I mean, Bo, you were at the Senior Bowl. Super Bowl week. We were at the Combine. We've had countless interviews, insights, conversations. It all comes to a crescendo tomorrow evening at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Yeah,
how about that? If
you didn't get yourself a ticket to the draft party, we're still going to be live, as we are every day, right here on this PHNX Sports YouTube channel. Don't miss a moment of the first round, the second and third round, and of course, the final day of the NFL draft with us here at PHNX Sports. It will be the culmination of all that hard work. Damon and myself getting out there, taking a couple flights, taking a little puddle jumper from Atlanta to Mobile, risking our lives. And then
road dogs.
Yeah, we're
I'm
just
going to
road
steal
dogs.
that back from Shane Diefenbach. He doesn't get to decide whether or not we're road dogs.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't determine that. Just like most of you don't determine if we get to celebrate tomorrow, because we are if they take Marv. But we're gonna figure out together whether you're in person with us, and we can't wait to start meeting people at the meet and greet tomorrow at 3:30 at Gila River Resort and Casino at Wild Horse Pass, or if you're in the chat like you are right now, come along with us. Let's find out together. As lame as that sounds,
super lame.
The pivotal moment in the Arizona Cardinals franchise where things started to trend in the right direction.
Mike Sabo, $9.99 super stickers. Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate that. We appreciate all of you. The support throughout this draft season has been immeasurable. And we hope, in all seriousness, that we can do you justice for sticking with us, because I say this, not tongue-in-cheek, with full confidence, nobody will beat our draft coverage the next 3 days. So if you have not done so already, like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Tomorrow night, live, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Mountain Time, we kick off the 2024 NFL Draft with wall-to-wall round one coverage that continues into Friday, into Saturday. Tomorrow morning, I'm dropping my final mock draft on Go PHNX Sports, phnxsports.com for free.
Will he be bold enough to stick and pick at 4th overall, or is he trading down? That's what you're going to want to open up that mock draft to find out. Johnny Venerable.
I'm already on the fence about letting you guys celebrate, but if he does that, I'm going to be so mad if they pick Marv and he celebrates. An emotional mock draft hedge? That would be crazy, Johnny.
Dana's saying, man, your poor wives. Listen, we've prepped them all year for this, and this is our time. That's right. This is our time with all of you, and you get us whether you like us or not.
My wife just dropped my son off at the studio. Like, he's here hanging out with me right now.
Where's Gray at? Get him on camera right now.
He's too busy having so much fun here at the PHNX studio. I just loaded him up with gummies, not OG's gummies, but with delicious Welch's gummies. Yeah, she always like, you're taking the kid. I'm having one last hurrah before you leave us.
Braden, $1.99. Johnny, we need a 300-word apology when MHJ goes 4. I mean, just apology for what? I'll apologize for nothing. Braden, for GD, nothing other than keeping it real on this show, because I love all of you. Thank you, producer Damon. Banner show 600 plus still. Like this video.
It's not a hashtag.
Just taking shots left and right. Listen, we got big news, big guests, big support coming mañana. Got to keep it clean on draft night. Hunter giving us $1.89 super sticker. Thank you so much, Hunter. We appreciate that. Butcher Brocks, we appreciate you. We've got Coach Starks lined up for the next 3 days. We're fired up about that and more. Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass is the place to be if you're inclined to hold the line. For Bo Brock, Damon Dog, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.
We all silly like the mayor.